The stars looked different from the observation deck of the Earth diplomatic vessel Starlight. Commander Ethan Pierce stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the blue-green planet grew larger in the view screen. New Horizon was the name humans had given to this world, the site of humanity's third extrasolar colony, and now the location for their first formal diplomatic meeting with an alien species. Nervous, Commander? Dr. Olivia Martinez stepped beside him, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. As the ship's chief xenobiologist, she had spent months studying the limited data they had on the Zeltorians. Cautious, Ethan replied. We've had small exchanges with their scout ships, but this is different. A formal treaty will change everything. The Starlight wasn't a warship, but it wasn't defenseless either. Ethan had insisted on that when they retrofitted the vessel for diplomatic missions. Human expansion into space had been peaceful so far, but the universe was vast and unpredictable. Ambassador Wright is ready in the conference room, said a voice from behind them. Lieutenant Peter. Goldman stood at attention, his uniform crisp despite the long journey. Ethan nodded. Tell him we'll make orbit in 20 minutes. The Zeltorian ship should arrive shortly after. As predicted, a sleek silver vessel appeared from the dark of space just as the Starlight settled into orbit. The Zeltorian ship was beautiful in a strange way, all curved lines and smooth surfaces that seemed to flow like liquid metal. It was smaller than the Starlight but moved with precision that suggested advanced technology. Ambassador Samuel Wright waited at the docking bay, flanked by his diplomatic team. At 62, Wright had silver hair and the patient eyes of someone who understood that words could be more powerful than weapons. Remember, Wright told the welcoming party, the Zeltorians value hierarchy and clear communication. They don't understand subtle hints or implied meanings. The docking tube connected with a soft hiss, and everyone straightened as the inner door slid open. The Zeltorians were tall, with gray-blue skin that shimmered slightly under the ship's lights. Their 4 eyes, too large and too small, blinked in different patterns as they took in the human reception party. Leading them was Zarvex, easily identified by the ornate silver bands around his upper limbs. Ambassador Wright, Zarvex said, his translator converting the clicks and whistles of his native language into English. The High Council sends their respect. High Counselor Zarvex, Wright replied with a slight bow. Earth Command welcomes you and your delegation. We hope this meeting marks the beginning of a beneficial relationship between our peoples. The formal introductions continued as they moved to the conference room. Dr. Martinez observed the Zeltorians carefully, noting how they moved with deliberate grace, how they seemed to communicate with subtle eye movements when they thought no one was watching. Over the next 3 days, the treaty negotiations progressed better than expected. The Zeltorians were interested in human agricultural techniques. Their own world suffered from limited growing seasons, while humans coveted the efficient energy storage technology the aliens had mastered. On the 4th day, they reached the section on cultural exchange and colony rights. This was when Ambassador Wright raised a point he considered essential. Before we continue, Wright said, placing his hands flat on the table, there is a fundamental aspect of human society that must be clearly understood. The Zeltorians shifted, in their seats, their smaller eyes blinking rapidly. Humans protect their young with unparalleled ferocity. Wright continued, his voice steady but intense. We consider harm to our children the gravest offense possible. This must be understood and respected in all interactions. Zarvex tilted his head. All species protect their offspring. This is simply biological imperative. For humans, it goes beyond biology, Wright explained. It is the foundation of our moral code, our laws, and our social structure. There is nothing that will unite humans more quickly or more completely than a threat to a child. The Zeltorian diplomatic team exchanged glances, their four-fingered ho, hands making subtle gestures. We acknowledge your cultural priority, Zarvex finally said, though his tone suggested he found the emphasis excessive. It will be noted in the treaty. That evening, Ethan found Dr. Martinez in the ship's lab, reviewing footage of the day's negotiations. They didn't really understand, did they? Olivia said without looking up from her screen. Ethan leaned against the doorframe. What makes you say that? Watch their eye patterns when Ambassador Wright was speaking about protecting children. The small eyes were blinking in their dismissal pattern. They think we're being primitive. Does that concern you? Olivia turned to face him. The Zeltorians reproduce in large numbers. Their young mature quickly and with minimal parental investment. They simply don't have the same connection to their children that we do. You think this could cause problems? Cultural misunderstandings often do, she said with a shrug. But that's why we're here, isn't it? To build understanding? 2 weeks later, the treaty was signed. A formal ceremony was held on New Horizon, where the first integrated human Zeltorian research facility would be established. Governor Alan Daniels hosted the event, with his 8-year-old daughter Lisa at his side. The young girl watched the proceedings with bright, curious eyes. Is that a real alien? Lisa whispered to her father, pointing at Zarvex. Yes, sweetheart. He's a Zeltorian, from a planet many light years away. Alan explained quietly. His eyes are cool, she decided. Later, at the reception, Lisa approached the Zeltorian diplomat with the fearless curiosity only children possess. Hello, Mr. Alien. I'm Lisa. Zarvex looked down at the small human, seemingly uncertain how to respond. You are a juvenile human. I'm 8, Lisa said proudly. Do you have kids too? My genetic material has contributed to many offspring, Zarvex replied stiffly. Dr. Martinez, who had been watching the exchange, stepped closer. Lisa is the governor's daughter. She's very curious about new things. Human children spend many years in development, Zarvex observed. Inefficient, but perhaps necessary for your species' cognitive abilities. We value our extended childhood, Olivia said with a smile. It's when we learn who we are. Across the room, Ambassador Wright was speaking with Commander Pierce. The treaty is just the beginning, Wright said. The real work is ensuring they understand us and we understand them. And if they don't take our warnings seriously? Ethan asked quietly. Wright's expression grew serious. Then they'll learn the hard way. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. As the reception continued, none of them noticed the intense interest with which certain members of the Zeltorian science team observed Lisa and the other human children present. Nor did they see the rapid communications being sent back to the Zeltorian homeworld, detailing observations about human developmental patterns and neuroplasticity. 6 months later, the joint research facility was fully operational. Dr. Martinez worked alongside Zeltorian scientists studying compatible agricultural methods, while Lisa Daniels became a frequent visitor, fascinated by the alien researchers and their strange equipment. The peace between humans and Zeltorians seemed secure, but beneath the surface, curiosity was turning into something more dangerous, something that would soon test the warning Ambassador Wright had so clearly given. Touch a human child, and you won't survive the consequences. 6 months after the treaty signing, New Horizon Colony was thriving. The joint research facility stood on the edge of the main settlement, its silver and glass buildings gleaming in the planet's golden sunlight. Inside one of these buildings, Kreltor hunched over a data screen, studying the results of his latest experiment. Fascinating, the Zeltorian scientist murmured to himself. Human neural pathways show remarkable adaptability. His 4 eyes blinked, in an excited pattern as he compared the brain scans of adult humans with those of children. The difference was striking. Adult brains were more fixed, their patterns solidified. But the children's brains showed incredible plasticity, able to form new connections, adapt to new environments, and learn at speeds that amazed the Zeltorian researchers. Kreltor's private laboratory was located in a section of the facility that human scientists rarely visited. His true research wasn't included in the official exchange program. The Zeltorian High Council had authorized these additional studies, considering them too valuable an opportunity to miss. Still working, Kreltor. Another Zeltorian entered the lab, this one wearing the bands of a security officer. Yes, Mevron. These findings could revolutionize our understanding of cognitive development, Kreltor replied, never looking away from his screen. But simulations can only tell us so much. We need a living subject for proper study. Mevran's smaller eyes blinked skeptically. The humans are protective of their young. So they claim, Kreltor said dismissively. All species have protective instincts. But we're talking about scientific advancement here. A temporary borrowing for research purposes is hardly cause for serious conflict between spacefaring civilizations. The conversation paused as they heard voices in the corridor outside. Kreltor quickly changed his screen to display approved research data. The door slid open and Governor Alan Daniels entered with his daughter Lisa skipping beside him. Dr. Martinez followed behind them. And this is where our xenobiology team works with the Zeltorian agricultural scientists, Olivia was explaining to Lisa. She nodded politely to the two Zeltorians. Good afternoon, Kreltor, Mevran. Dr. Martinez, Kreltor acknowledged. His 4 eyes focused on Lisa, who stared back at him with unabashed curiosity. Your eyes are different sizes, Lisa said, pointing at his face. Lisa, her father gently corrected. We talked about not pointing. It's quite all right, Governor Daniels, Kreltor said. Yes, young human, our species developed with dual visual systems. The larger eyes see details while the smaller ones detect motion and light changes. Lisa's face lit up with interest. That's so cool. Do you see things differently than we do? Most certainly. Perhaps one day we could show you how we perceive the world, Kreltor replied, his voice friendly but his smaller eyes blinking rapidly in the pattern that Dr. Martinez had come to recognize as intense interest. As the humans continued their tour, Kreltor watched them leave, particularly the child. That one would be perfect, he said quietly to Mevran. Young enough for maximum neural plasticity, but old enough to communicate her experiences. The governor's daughter? You can't. Be serious. Science requires bold action, Mevran. Make the preparations. The colony's Founding Day Festival is in 3 days. With the celebrations and crowds, it will provide the perfect opportunity. 3 days later, New Horizon Colony was transformed. Colorful banners hung from buildings, music played in the central plaza, and both humans and the few Zeltorians stationed on the planet mingled among food stalls and game booths. It marked 1 full planetary year since the colony's establishment, a cause for celebration. Governor Daniels gave a short speech, with Lisa standing proudly beside him. When the formal part of the festivities ended, Lisa begged to go play games with the other children. All right, but stay in the main plaza where I can see you, Alan told her, watching as she ran off to join a group of children throwing rings onto bottles. Ryan Daniels, Lisa's uncle, and the colony's chief engineer, approached his brother. Quite the success, Governor. The colony's thriving. Alan smiled, watching his daughter laugh as she played. It hasn't been easy, but days like today make it all worthwhile. She's growing up fast, Ryan observed, nodding toward Lisa. Too fast. Hard to believe she'll be 9 next month. The brothers continued talking, occasionally glancing toward the children's area. The plaza was getting more crowded as the afternoon progressed. When Alan looked again for Lisa, he couldn't spot her among the other children. Do you see Lisa? He asked Ryan, a hint of concern in his voice. Ryan stood on his tiptoes, scanning the crowd. She was at the ring toss a minute ago. The brothers moved closer to the game area, but Lisa wasn't there. They asked the other children, who said she had gone to get a snack. They checked the food stalls, but there was no sign of her. 30 minutes later, the entire security team of New Horizon was searching for Lisa Daniels. Diana Flores, the colonial security chief, coordinated the search from the command center. We need to check the security camera feeds, she instructed her team. Pull everything from the plaza and surrounding areas for the past hour. Governor Daniels paced behind them, his face pale with worry. Could she have wandered off? Maybe to the research facility. She loves visiting there. We've already sent a team to check, Diana assured him. We'll find her, sir. But as the hours passed and the search expanded to include the entire colony and nearby areas, A sick feeling grew in the pit of Alan's stomach. Lisa wasn't the type to wander off without telling someone. Something was wrong. In the command center, a security officer called out, "Chief Flores, I found something." Diana and the governor rushed to his screen. The footage showed Lisa near the edge of the plaza, looking at something off camera. Then a figure in a hooded cloak approached her, showed her something in their hand, and led her. "Away! Enhance that image," Diana ordered. The computer zoomed in and clarified the grainy footage. The figure's hood slipped back slightly as they turned, revealing the unmistakable four-eyed face of a Zeltorian. "No," Alan whispered, his voice breaking. "Why would they take her?" Diana was already moving, grabbing her communication device. "Lock down the spaceport. Nothing leaves the planet. And get me the location of every Zeltorian on New Horizon." Within an hour, Diana had tracked the movement of the hooded Zeltorian and Lisa to the research facility, and from there to the Zeltorian shuttle bay. Security footage showed them boarding a small vessel that had then docked with the Zeltorian ship in orbit. Governor Daniels, his face now set in hard lines, stood in the colony's communication center with his brother Ryan and Diana Flores at his side. "Open a channel to the Zeltorian vessel," he ordered. The face of a Zeltorian officer appeared on the screen. "This is Governor Alan Daniels of New Horizon Colony. Your people have taken my daughter. Return her immediately." The Zeltorian blinked slowly. "I have no knowledge of such an action, Governor." "We have video evidence," Diana cut in. "A Zeltorian took her from our Founding Day celebration and brought her to your ship. We demand her immediate return." "I will investigate this claim," the officer replied. "You will do more than investigate," Alan said, his voice dangerously quiet. "You will return my daughter unharmed within the next hour, or I'm contacting Earth Command." The screen went dark as the Zeltorian cut the transmission. Ryan put a hand on his brother's shoulder. "They don't understand what they've done, do they?" "No," Alan replied, his eyes fixed on the blank screen. "But they will." Diana was already at another console, entering her emergency authorization code. "This is Colonial Security Chief Diana Flores. Authorization Sierra Echo Charlie 497. Priority 1 emergency transmission to Earth Command. Subject: child abduction by Zeltorian nationals. Request immediate response." As the message was sent racing through space at FTL speeds, Alan Daniels looked up at the sky, knowing that somewhere up there, his daughter was being held by aliens who had no idea of the storm they had just called down upon themselves. The emergency message from New Horizon reached Earth Command in just under 4 hours. Admiral Karen Chen was in the middle of a routine briefing when her comm unit flashed red. "Excuse me," she said to her staff, stepping away to read the message. Her face hardened as she scanned the details. "Get me President Rogers now." On Earth, President Catherine Rogers was woken at 3 a.m. by her chief of staff. She read the report in silence, her expression growing more severe with each line. "Activate the emergency response protocol," she said without hesitation. "And get Ambassador Wright on the line." Within an hour, the highest levels of Earth government and military were fully alert. In a secure conference room, President Rogers faced the gathered emergency response team. "A Zeltorian research vessel has abducted Lisa Daniels, the 8-year-old daughter of New Horizon's governor," she announced. "Governor Daniels has already demanded her return. The Zeltorians have neither confirmed nor denied taking her, but we have video evidence of their involvement." Ambassador Wright, looking grim, spoke up. "During treaty negotiations, I specifically warned them about our stance on protecting children. They seemed dismissive, treating it as primitive instinct rather than policy." "Then they need a lesson in human policy," Admiral Chen said flatly. "Madam President, I recommend deploying the Second Fleet immediately." President Rogers nodded. "Authorized, Admiral. You have full operational discretion. Our priority is the safe recovery of Lisa Daniels." "And the Zeltorians?" Wright asked quietly. "They were warned," Rogers replied, her voice cold. "Make sure every human outpost and colony is informed, and prepare a message for the Zeltorian High Council. They have 24 hours to return the child unharmed." Back on New Horizon, the colony was transforming. What had been a peaceful research settlement just hours ago now hummed with focused activity. Governor Daniels had declared a state of emergency, and every colonist understood why. In the colony's workshop, Ryan Daniels directed a team of engineers as they modified mining equipment. The beam intensity needs to be stronger, he told a technician working on a drill-turned-energy weapon. Their personal shields operate on a frequency we can disrupt. Diana Flores had deputized every adult with military experience and established defense perimeters around the colony. The Zeltorian ship is still in orbit, she reported to the governor. They've made no attempt to leave the system. They don't think they need to, Alan replied bitterly. They don't understand what's coming. The Zeltorian vessel circling New Horizon was indeed calm. In the ship's command center, Zeldron, the newly arrived war commander, dismissed the humans' demands. Their protest is excessive, he told his officers. Kreltor's research is valuable to the High Council. The human child is unharmed and will be returned when the studies are complete. A junior officer approached cautiously. Commander, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the colony. They appear to be activating defensive systems. Zeldron's smaller eyes blinked dismissively. A display only. Their colony has minimal military capabilities. Continue normal operations. In the depths of space, that assumption was about to be proven catastrophically wrong. At the edge of the star system, space rippled and tore open as the first ships of Earth's Second Fleet emerged from FTL travel. The Defender, Admiral Chen's flagship, led the formation, followed by 12 warships of varying sizes. On the bridge of the Defender, Admiral Chen studied the tactical display. Time to New Horizon orbit? 2 hours at maximum burn, Admiral. Her navigation officer replied. Make it 90 minutes, she ordered. And hail Major Collins, I want his team ready the moment we arrive. In the ship's armory, Major Frank Collins briefed his Special Tactics Squad. 20 men and women in black combat gear checked their weapons and equipment with practiced precision. Our mission is clear, Collins told them. Extract Lisa Daniels. Neutralize any resistance, minimize collateral damage. The Zeltorians have advanced personal shielding, but Sergeant Bailey has modified our weapons to counter them. Sergeant Heather Bailey, the team's explosives expert, displayed a small disc. Their shields work against standard energy signatures. These disruptors will create a localized field that their technology can't adapt to. One hit, and their protection goes down. Collins nodded. Remember, we're not there for revenge. We're there for the girl. Everything else is secondary. As Earth's military machine moved with cold efficiency, the Zeltorian High Council finally began to realize the situation's gravity. A message from Earth arrived, delivered by a grim-faced Ambassador Wright. This is your final warning, Wright's recorded image stated. Return Lisa Daniels unharmed within 24 Earth hours, or face the consequences of your actions. We warned you once. We will not warn you again. On the Zeltorian homeworld, High Counselor Zarvex called an emergency session. The humans are overreacting to a simple scientific inquiry, he insisted to his colleagues. An older counselor raised her hand. Perhaps not. Reports are coming in of human military vessels mobilizing throughout their territory, not just near New Horizon, everywhere. Their response appears coordinated. Impossible. Another counselor scoffed. Their colonies are spread across 3 star systems. They cannot coordinate so quickly. The evidence suggests otherwise. The older counselor replied. I recommend we order Kreltor to return the child immediately. Zarvex hesitated. The research is valuable. Perhaps we can negotiate. An aide rushed into the chamber, interrupting the debate. Counselors, we've just received word from our outpost near the human colony. A large human fleet has entered the system. Military vessels. For the first time, Zarvex felt a flicker of concern. He opened a channel to Zeldron's ship. War Commander, what is the status of the human response? Zeldron appeared calm, but his smaller eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of stress. The reports are exaggerated, High Counselor. Yes, human ships have entered the system, but we can handle his transmission. Cut off abruptly as the chamber's main screen switched to a system-wide view. The counselors fell silent as they watched the human fleet move into position with precision that surprised even the militaristic Zeltorians. "How many ships?" Zarvex asked quietly. 13 large vessels detected so far," the aide replied. "And they're transmitting a system-wide message." The face of Admiral Chen appeared on their screen. Her expression was composed but unyielding as she spoke. "This is Admiral Karen Chen of Earth Alliance Second Fleet to all Zeltorian vessels. You are holding a human child against her will and against our explicit warnings. Your ship is now blockaded. Surrender Lisa Daniels immediately and unconditionally." She paused, then continued, her voice even colder. "To be absolutely clear, if you attempt to leave this system with the child, you will be disabled. If you harm the child, you will be destroyed. This is not a negotiation." The High Council chamber erupted in alarmed discussion. Zarvex stared at the screen, suddenly remembering Ambassador Wright's warning during the treaty negotiation. Humans protect their young with unparalleled ferocity. He had thought it primitive emotionalism. Now, watching the implacable human fleet surround Zeldron's ship with cold, methodical precision, he realized his mistake. On New Horizon, the colonists watched the sky light up as Earth's ships took position. Governor Daniels received a direct communication from Admiral Chen. "We're in position, Governor. Special Tactics is preparing to board their vessel. We'll bring your daughter home." Alan nodded, his voice tight with emotion. "Thank you, Admiral." As night fell on the colony, Ryan Daniels looked up at the stars where human ships now surrounded the Zeltorian vessel. He spoke quietly, though there was no one to hear. "We warned them. They didn't listen." Dawn broke over New Horizon Colony as the 24-hour ultimatum to the Zeltorians expired. On the bridge of the Defender, Admiral Chen watched the timer reach 0. "Any response from the Zeltorian vessel?" she asked her communications officer. "Yes, Admiral. They're requesting an extension for further consideration of the situation." Admiral Chen's expression didn't change. "Denied. Major Collins, your team is cleared to proceed." In the launch bay, Major Frank Collins and his Special Tactics Squad made final equipment checks. Dr. Olivia Martinez stood nearby, medical kit ready. She had volunteered to accompany the rescue team to provide immediate care for Lisa. "Remember," Collins told his team, "we move fast and we move quiet. Our only goal is extracting the girl. Sergeant Bailey, you'll take point with the shield disruptors." Heather Bailey nodded, her face focused as she distributed small disc-shaped devices to each team member. "One pulse will disrupt their shields for 30 seconds. Make it count." The squad boarded 2 sleek black shuttles. As the bay doors opened, Collins looked at his team one last time. "For those who haven't faced Zeltorians before, they're fast, and their technology is good. But today they face something they don't understand. Humans protecting a child. Let's show them what that means." The shuttles launched silently, accelerating toward the Zeltorian research vessel. On the alien ship, alarms sounded as they detected the approaching craft. "Human vessels on approach," a Zeltorian officer reported to War Commander Zeldron. 2 small craft, likely carrying boarding parties. Zeldron's all 4 eyes widened in disbelief. "They dare to board a Zeltorian military vessel? Activate all defense systems." "Sir," another officer interrupted, "the larger human ships are targeting our engines and weapon systems." On the Defender, Admiral Chen gave the order. "Disable their engines and weapons. Surgical strikes only." Precise beams of energy lashed out from the human fleet, striking the Zeltorian ship's external systems with remarkable accuracy. The alien vessel shuddered as its engines went dark. The Special Tactics shuttles reached the now drifting ship, attaching to its hull near an external airlock. Sergeant Bailey placed a device against the airlock controls and the interface sparked before the door slid open. "We're in," Collins reported back to the Defender. Proceeding to target. Dr. Martinez checked her tablet, which displayed a thermal scan of the ship. "I'm detecting a small human heat signature 3 levels down, likely in their research section." Collins nodded. "Squad 1 with me to the research level. Squad 2, secure our exit path." They moved through the corridors with practiced efficiency. When the first Zeltorian security team appeared, Bailey fired her disruptor. The pulse made the air shimmer, and the Zeltorians' protective shields flickered and died. Before they could react, Collins's team had neutralized them with stun weapons. Their biology is different from ours, Dr. Martinez reminded them. The stun effect won't last long. We won't need long, Collins replied, leading them deeper into the ship. In the ship's research laboratory, Kreltor worked frantically to download his findings. The human child lay on an examination table nearby, sedated but unharmed. Various scanning devices surrounded her, recording her neural patterns. The data is too valuable to lose, Kreltor told his assistant. Continue the download while I prepare the subject for relocation. As he reached toward Lisa, the laboratory door exploded inward. Sergeant Bailey rolled through the smoke, firing her disruptor. The Zeltorian scientists' shields failed, and they fell back in alarm as the rest of Collins's team entered, weapons raised. Step away from the child, Collins ordered, his voice deadly quiet. Kreltor blinked rapidly, confused by the human's arrival. This is a scientific research facility. Your aggressive action is unwarranted. That's a human child, Collins replied, gesturing to Lisa. Our warning was clear. Dr. Martinez pushed past him, rushing to Lisa's side. She quickly checked the girl's vital signs, relief washing over her face. She's okay. Just sedated. Kreltor watched in bewilderment as the humans carefully disconnected Lisa from the monitoring equipment. I don't understand your extreme reaction. The subject has not been harmed. This is important research that benefits both our species. Collins turned to face him, his expression cold. She's not a subject. Her name is Lisa Daniels. She's 8 years old. She has a father who loves her and a colony that's been tearing itself apart with worry for her. But, Kreltor began. We warned you. Collins cut him off. Your people were told clearly and directly, humans protect their children. You chose not to listen. Dr. Martinez had wrapped Lisa in a thermal blanket and was preparing to move her. She's stable for transport. Collins nodded. Bailey, set the charges. Sergeant Bailey placed small devices around the laboratory equipment. Non-destructive EMP charges, she explained to Martinez. They'll wipe the research data but won't damage the ship's life support. Kreltor's 4 eyes widened in panic. No, you can't. This research took months. Consider yourself lucky, Collins replied. If she'd been harmed, this entire ship would be space dust right now. He activated his comm unit. Admiral, we have the package. Lisa is safe and we're extracting now. On the bridge of the Defender, Admiral Chen allowed herself a small smile. Copy that, Major. We'll maintain position until you're clear. She turned to her communications officer. Inform Governor Daniels that his daughter has been recovered and is unharmed. The Special Tactics team moved quickly through the Zeltorian ship, carrying Lisa between them. They encountered minimal resistance. Most of the crew had been caught unprepared by the speed and precision of the human assault. As they reached their shuttles, War Commander Zeldron appeared with a final squad of security officers blocking their path. This violation of our sovereign vessel will not stand, Zeldron declared. Return the subject to our custody immediately. Collins gestured and Bailey launched her last disruptor. As the Zeltorians' shields failed, the human team raised their weapons. Last chance, Collins warned. We're leaving with the girl. You can either let us pass, or you can explain to your High Council why half your crew couldn't walk away from this. Zeldron looked from the humans to his disabled troops, finally recognizing the situation was lost. He stepped aside, his smaller eyes blinking in frustrated patterns. The High Council will demand reparations for this attack, he said as they passed. Collins paused briefly. Tell your council that we kept our response proportional. The child is unharmed, so your ship and crew are unharmed. Remember that, Mercy, if you ever consider touching a human child again. The shuttles detached from the Zeltorian vessel, flying back toward the Defender. As they landed in the ship's bay, medical teams rushed forward with a stretcher for Lisa. She'll wake up soon, Dr. Martinez told them. The sedatives they used are wearing off. She'll be disoriented but should recover quickly. Admiral Chen met them at the shuttle. looking down at the sleeping child with an expression of relief. Well done, Major. Prepare your report. I want a full accounting of their research activities. Yes, Admiral, Collins replied. But I think they got the message. In the Defender's medical bay, Lisa began to stir as Dr. Martinez sat beside her. The girl's eyes fluttered open, confusion evident on her face. Where? She murmured. You're safe, Lisa, Martinez said gently. You're on a human ship and we're taking you home to your dad. Lisa blinked, memories slowly returning. The aliens. They said they wanted to see how my brain worked. They won't bother you again, Martinez assured her, squeezing her hand. Half the human fleet made sure of that. On the bridge, Admiral Chen opened a channel to the colony. Governor Alan Daniels' anxious face appeared on screen. Admiral, is it true? You have her? We do, Governor. Lisa is safe and unharmed. Dr. Martinez is with her now. We'll bring her home within the hour. Alan's composure finally broke, tears of relief streaming down his face. Thank you, thank you. No thanks needed, Chen replied firmly. This is what we do. We protect our children. As the Defender moved into position to send a shuttle down to the colony, the Zeltorian vessel remained dark and silent, its crew coming to terms with a lesson they would not soon forget. When humans said, touch a human child, and you won't survive. The consequences, it wasn't a threat or an exaggeration, it was a promise. A week after Lisa's rescue, New Horizon Colony was finally returning to normal. The Earth fleet remained in orbit, a silent reminder of humanity's resolve, but the streets were peaceful again. The modified mining equipment had been returned to its original purpose, and colonists were back at work in the fields and labs. In the governor's residence, Lisa sat on the couch between her father and Dr. Martinez. The girl seemed remarkably resilient, though she still had nightmares about her time on the Zeltorian ship. And you're sure she's okay? Alan asked Martinez quietly as Lisa colored in a book. Physically, she's fine, Olivia replied. The Zeltorians didn't harm her. They were studying her brain patterns, but they didn't do anything invasive. The psychological impact will take more time to process, but children are amazingly adaptable. Lisa looked up from her drawing. I wasn't scared, Daddy. Not really, they were just curious. They didn't understand why it was wrong. Alan hugged his daughter close. Well, they understand now. The door chimed and Ryan Daniels entered with Diana Flores. The ambassador has arrived, Diana announced. Ambassador Samuel Wright had traveled directly from Earth when he heard about the incident. Now he stood in the governor's living room, formal in his diplomatic uniform but with warmth in his eyes as he greeted Lisa. Hello, young lady. You've caused quite a stir across 3 star systems. Lisa smiled shyly. Did I get in trouble? No, Wright chuckled. But your adventure has certainly changed things between humans and Zeltorians. He looked to Alan. The High Council has requested a formal meeting to discuss new diplomatic protocols. They're taking this very seriously now. They should, Alan said, his voice still carrying an edge of anger. What happens to the ones who took her? Kreltor and his research team have been handed over to human authorities, Diana explained. They'll face trial under the colonial justice system. The Zeltorians didn't protest. In fact, their High Council seems eager to show they understand the severity of the offense. Wright nodded. It's unprecedented. The Zeltorians have never before allowed their citizens to be judged by another species' legal system. On the view screen in the corner of the room, President Rogers was giving an address to all human colonies and settlements. They turned to watch. The safe return of Lisa Daniels reminds us of what we stand for, the president said. Throughout human history, across cultures and continents, one principle has remained constant. We protect our children at any cost. Today that principle extends to the stars. She continued, her expression solemn. The response to this crisis was not just military. It was every human, in every colony, acting as one. Engineers modified equipment for defense. Civilians volunteered for security duties. Ships from private companies offered their services without being asked. We showed the galaxy what humanity truly is. As the president spoke, Similar scenes played out across human space. On distant colonies and outposts, humans watched their leaders reaffirm the principle that had united them. Even Earth's oldest rivals set aside their differences in the face of a threat to a human child. Meanwhile, on the Zeltorian homeworld, the High Council was in emergency session. Zarvek stood before his peers, his posture humble in a way no human had ever seen in a Zeltorian leader. "We have made a grave misjudgment," he admitted. "What we dismissed as primitive instinct is instead the foundation of human society." Their warning was not exaggeration or diplomatic posturing. The other counselors murmured in agreement. One elder spoke up. The human response was unexpected. Not just its speed or its scale, but its unity. Their colonies are spread across vast distances, yet they mobilized as a single entity. And their restraint was equally notable, added another counselor. They had the power to destroy our research vessel, yet they exercised precision. The child was unharmed, so they left our people unharmed. Zarvex nodded. They sent a message that was both clear and measured. We would be foolish not to heed it. 2 days later, Ambassador Wright met with Zarvex aboard the Defender. Admiral Chen had offered the neutral location as a gesture of cautious goodwill. The two diplomats sat across from each other at a simple table, without their usual entourages. My people wish to express their profound regret, Zarvex began, his 4 eyes blinking in patterns of sincere contrition. The actions of Kreltor violated not only our treaty, but a principle we failed to properly understand. Wright nodded, his expression neutral. And now? Now we understand, Zarvex replied. What your people demonstrated was not merely military capability, but something our analysts are still struggling to quantify. Your entire species moved as one, without central command, united by a shared value so deep it requires no enforcement. The protection of our children isn't a law, Wright explained. It's who we are. We wish to establish new protocols, Zarvex continued. Clearer boundaries, better cultural understanding. We still believe our species can benefit from peaceful exchange. Wright considered this. That's possible, but trust has been broken. It will take time to rebuild. Back on New Horizon, life continued to move forward. The Joint Research Facility reopened, though under much stricter protocols and with human security officers present at all times. The Zeltorian scientists who returned were noticeably more respectful and cautious around humans, particularly children. 1 month after the incident, a ceremony was held in the colony's central plaza, the same place where Lisa had been taken. Governor Daniels unveiled a simple monument, a stone marker with an inscription in both English and the Zeltorian language. This monument stands as both a remembrance and a warning, Allen said to the assembled colonists and the few Zeltorian representatives who had been permitted to attend. It reminds us that understanding between different species requires respect for core values. Lisa, standing beside her father, read the inscription aloud. On this spot, lines were crossed and lessons learned. May all who visit this colony understand. Humanity's children are humanity's future. Their protection is not negotiable. Dr. Martinez, watching from the crowd, noticed how the Zeltorians' smaller eyes remained fixed downward, their cultural expression of acknowledgement and respect. That evening, Lisa sat with her Uncle Ryan on the porch of their home, looking up at the stars where human ships still patrolled. Will the aliens ever be our friends again? She asked. Ryan considered the question carefully. I think so, but now they understand us better. Sometimes that's what friendship needs, clear boundaries. Daddy says I was brave, Lisa said proudly. You were, Ryan agreed. And because of you, every human child in every colony is safer now. Everyone out there among the stars knows the one rule they must never break. Lisa nodded solemnly. Don't mess with human kids. Ryan smiled and put his arm around his niece's shoulders. Exactly. In the years that followed, the incident became known throughout human space and beyond as the Daniels Protocol, a case study in cultural lines that must never be crossed. It was taught to every new species humanity encountered, a simple but powerful message. We welcomed you to trade with us. We invited you to learn with us. We offered you friendship. But we warned you, touch a human child, and you won't survive the consequences.